A relationship with the right referral partner could be a game changer for any B2B company. So what if you could reverse engineer these relationships at a moment's notice? Start a podcast, invite potential referral partners to be guests on your show, and grow your referral network faster than ever. Learn more at sweetfishmedia.com.
You're listening to B2B Growth, a daily podcast for B2B leaders. We've interviewed names you've probably heard before, like Gary Vaynerchuk and Simon Sinek, but you've probably never heard from the majority of our guests. That's because the bulk of our interviews aren't with professional speakers and authors. Most of our guests are in the trenches leading sales and marketing teams. They're implementing strategy. They're experimenting with tactics. They're building the fastest growing B2B companies in the world. My name is James Carberry. I'm the founder of Sweetfish Media, a podcast agency for B2B brands, and I'm also one of the co-hosts of this show. When we're not interviewing sales and marketing leaders, you'll hear stories from behind the scenes of our own business. We'll share the ups and downs of our journey as we attempt to take over the world. Just kidding. Well, maybe. Let's get into the show.
So our son just turned 16 years old. We thought it'd be a nice thing to do to give him the car that we drove him home from the hospital in as an infant. And, a 17-year-old car, Blue Book value, not really high. So a nice gift, an inexpensive gift. And frankly, we don't have to drive him around as much anymore. So what does that mean? It means my wife and I had to go out and buy a car. If there aren't customer experience lessons in that, I don't know where else you'll find them. My name is Ethan Beute. I host the Customer Experience Podcast, as well as the CX series on the B2B Growth Show. And so I'm going to share with you a handful of things that I learned recently or was reminded of in the process of buying a new car. Now, I'm a consumer reports guy. I feel like their objective testing and rating is pretty good. I've read their car issues for years. My primary MO in buying a car is less than 2 years old, with fewer than 20,000 miles. So that like new, where I don't have to take that depreciation hit off the lot, but I have a like new car. That's how I wind up driving a 17-year-old car and an 11-year-old car respectively. And I treat them really well. So I narrowed it down to two choices, and they were very different from one another. One, the Volkswagen Golf All-Track, all-wheel drive, slightly higher clearance than the average car, and a very nice driving experience. Or the Toyota Prius, really the practical choice, insanely reliable, great gas mileage, and very low cost of ownership. So I went online and started looking at those two vehicles. Now, I found them all over Denver and Colorado Springs. And with other companies like CarMax or Carvana, you could actually search the entire country. And I reached out on several specific vehicles, which takes me to the first takeaway from this experience. Timeliness and responsiveness matter. Several of these companies never reached out at all. Others only reached out with automated messages. Now, if I was super interested in the vehicle, I would actually reply to that automated message in order to start the conversation. They wouldn't call me or email me directly, even though I was a very active buyer who raised my hand. So as you look at your process, look at how timely and responsive you are to inbound inquiries and opportunities in all of their forms, whether it's online chat, whether it's a form fill, or some other form of contact. I didn't expect in this case a 2-minute response time to an inquiry on a specific vehicle, but I did expect to be reached out to sometime in 24 hours or so. So you can't create the opportunity unless you're timely and responsive to these types of inquiries and pieces of communication. Number two, you need to manage customer expectations. My wife and I were so disappointed. We had our eye on a Prius up in Denver. I communicated back and forth with the guy. We spoke by phone, we swapped emails, and we ended up committing to buy this car. When I told him we'd buy it, he of course had all of the final paperwork in a PDF, purchase price, dealer and handling, taxes, etc. We were ready to roll in, make a cash purchase, and he set an appointment with us for 2 days later at 8:15 in the morning. So we were going to get up early, drive up to Denver, and buy this car. He set the appointment on the calendar, but the same day we set the appointment, about 2 hours later, I get an email and it has 3 words in it. It's sold. Sorry. So I immediately pick up the phone and call this guy. I'm like, what is going on here? You just sent me a calendar invite. You gave me the out the door price. We made this commitment to come up there and buy the car. And his response was, we have 30 salespeople on this lot. They need to eat too. Talk about failure to manage expectations and failure to empathize with your customer. Like, we were all in on this. We had shut down several other opportunities. And the gap here was he never communicated that, hey, if you give me $2,000 right now, I can guarantee this is your car in 2 days. Or, hey, this car might sell today. If you commit to come up and buy it today, I can make sure this car is yours. But instead, I'm operating from the idea that because he set the appointment and I have the final paperwork, that this is my car, I just need to show up and buy it. He's operating from a completely different expectation that he did not communicate, which is, well, if it's around when he gets here, it's his car. So think about expectations that other people might have at different points in their relationship with you. Are you operating from the same expectation? Disappointment, this is just a life tip, disappointment is exclusively a function of expectation. If my expectations are managed and you deliver at expectations, I can't be disappointed. That's what he thought he was doing, but he failed to communicate those expectations, thereby failing to manage my expectations. Number 3, be honest. Because this is a used car story, I don't think you'll be super surprised that there was some dishonesty in the process. And this is a crazy one. We went in to test drive that all-track. It was a super fun car to drive. I had already pressed them a little bit on the price, and they'd already moved down about $350 on it. It was the last day of the month. It was 6 p.m. They were open for a couple more hours. And so I told my salesperson and his sales manager, who was out on the lot with me, standing at the vehicle, hey, I need to go back. My wife and I are going to talk about it. We're going to sleep on it tomorrow. I'll get back to you the next morning with our decision. But before I do that, I just want to know, what is the absolute very best price you can give me on this car? And he told me, hey, I need to make $200 on every used car sale, and that is where I am. I have no room to move on this car. I said, cool, that's fine. I just wanted the best price you could offer. It's part of the decision-making process. We'll go make our decision and follow back up with you the next morning. So he goes into the building. I'm still chit-chatting with my sales rep, who I'd spoken with on the phone, had swapped several emails with. He was very responsive, a great salesperson. And then as we're wrapping up our chat, the sales manager comes running back toward us. Ethan, I've got exciting news. It's the last day of the month, and the salesperson here has sold 9 cars so far this month. If he sells his 10th car, he gets a bonus. If I could give you $500 off right now, would you buy this car on the spot tonight, last day of the month? And I said, of course not. I told you I wasn't buying the car today, and you just told me you had no room to move on the price. It's just ludicrous that 2 minutes later, he would think that I might forget that he told me that he couldn't move on the price. Lying to your customers in their face is always a bad look. Even if we wanted to buy that car, I would have refused to buy that car out of principle from those folks. And the sad part was, it was not the fault of the sales rep, who again was awesome, timely, straightforward, and very, very helpful. So timely and responsive, managing expectations, obviously being honest. That's just basic rules for living. Fourth one here is make it easy, eliminate friction. This is probably the biggest customer experience part of this conversation. Companies like CarMax and even newer business models like Carvana have identified what makes people like me and you, if you've been through this recently, so frustrated, and they knock down all those things. So we inquired on a car with CarMax, and I set an appointment. When I set that appointment through their website, which by the way had amazing search criteria, I could dial it into exactly what I wanted, including the features, including the mileage, and all these other characteristics, including internal and external color of the vehicle. My wife and I found one that fit what we wanted, clicked the make appointment button, and it immediately disappeared from the website. When I told my son that we were going to go check out this car and probably buy it, he went to find it online, couldn't find it, kind of panicked a little bit. And I said, they just took it off the website because they reserved it for me, which was awesome, completely different from the manage expectation story on that Prius up in Denver. In addition, as we were thinking, should we buy this on the spot or not, 7-day return policy, absolutely no risk whatsoever. The mileage didn't matter. They would give us all of our money back no matter what within 7 days. We were buying this north of Denver, by the way, and they would allow us to make this return in Colorado Springs. Super convenient and eliminates any of the objections on the buy side, as well as any of the friction of that buyer's remorse. In addition, 90-day warranty. They paid for the manual. There's no manual in this used car we were purchasing. They gave me the link to a website to order it. I submitted my receipt and they reimbursed me to get a physical copy of the manual that I could put in the glove box. I was in and out of that dealership in 90 minutes with a car. From I need to inspect this car, check it out, I want to test drive it, which was a fun experience, walk through all the paperwork, actually pay for it and all these other things, out the door in 90 minutes. Last step here, CarMax just kills this, by the way, from a customer experience standpoint. As we were doing the final paperwork, someone was washing the interior and exterior of the car. And as we were walking out to approach the car, they had positioned it in a parking bay with a nice sign behind it, a giant yellow bow right on the hood. Their colors are blue and yellow. And as we were going out, our sales rep said, "Hey, can I have your phone? Go stand just to the left of the front tire." She took a couple vertical photos, a couple horizontal photos of my wife and me with the new car, absolutely knowing that it's the kind of thing that we would share with our friends and our family, which we did because they wanted to know what we bought and what it looked like and all of these other things. Just really thought it all out in advance. It was just a nice little surprise and delight moment at the end of the process that builds social proof for them. In addition, just another quick small note on social proof. As we were sitting in the dealership, they have these giant monitors all around and they're constantly popping up new members of the CarMax family with little headshots and the vehicle they purchased in the city they purchased it in. Just really nice touches that humanize the whole process. Fifth and finally here, values matter. Ultimately, we made this decision on moral and ethical grounds. Now, not everyone thinks this way, but for us, it was just difficult. Even though that car that I drove for the past 17 years, that's still in absolutely amazing shape as a Volkswagen, we opted against the all-track, even though it was a great driving experience, for two key reasons. One, it only gets 22 miles to the gallon in the city versus 44 for what we purchased and 50 for a Prius, right? So we did end up buying a hybrid car. In addition, Volkswagen got caught in that diesel emissions cheating scandal, right? So in this world of finite resources, the idea that we're going to buy a car that we're going to drive for the next 15 to 20 years is going to be very fossil fuel dependent, far less efficient than so many other options in the market from a company that was caught bending the rules and actively cheating was just something I couldn't get behind, even though it was an awesome car to drive. So just a handful of tips there. Hopefully that triggered something for you, either as a customer or even better, as a marketing, sales, or customer success professional, about the way that you're interacting with your customers or the way you're being treated as a consumer. Hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to hear more, visit BombBomb.com/podcast. That's BombBomb.com/podcast. And I welcome your feedback. Again, my name is Ethan Beute. You can reach out to me directly, Ethan, ETHAN, at BombBomb.com. Thanks so much for listening.
We totally get it. We publish a ton of content on this podcast, and it can be a lot to keep up with. That's why we've started the B2B Growth Big Three, a no-fluff email that boils down our 3 biggest takeaways from an entire week of episodes. Sign up today at sweetfishmedia.com/big3. That's sweetfishmedia.com/big3.